So Simon, you do cars. You ever thought of getting onto the big car transporters, moving them about?
Not really. I mean, you know, my job really suits my lifestyle. Plus, no, I hadn't really thought about ever training for ARTICs and car transport. I mean, you know, 7.5 suits me.
But it's not just the
The
size.
hours don't really, you know, I like to go home every night.
Yeah,
And there's
yeah,
a
the
bit
transport
of tramping,
guys.
so I wouldn't be keen on that. And being, you know, I live in London, I'm based in London, most of my deliveries is London and the southeast. The firm I work for at the moment, they go up and, you know, constant up and down the country. You know, they go up to Grangemouth in Scotland, they go to Portbury in the West Country. So
I mean, that's the glory of the industry, though. You've got so many. You say you don't want to go, but you can go tramping where you're out Monday to Friday, or trunking from one place to the other. There's so many different things you can do. I mean, I've got a limited quantity license, which means I can take hazardous hazards chemicals in packages. So it's not necessarily petrol or things like that. But if I go on and do my full ADR, then I can take petrol and explosives,
right.
Or I could do my high-ab, and then I can do cranes and lifting on, lifting off. There's so many avenues that you can go down. It's such a good industry for that. You know, you can go abroad if you want to get around Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of drivers, they've gone 2 or 3 weeks at a time.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It's fantastic.
And they go thousands of miles, don't they?
Yeah, but you don't fancy doing that.
No, it's like I say, I like to go home every night.
But isn't it a good job where you can do what suits you, your
Yeah,
lifestyle?
I mean that's the thing. Even though I'm still, you know, I've still got my order of deliveries that come in, and you know, it's not like I'm doing 50 a day. It's 4, 5, 6 pickups, drop-offs. I still basically decide what I'm doing. That's what I like. One of the things, like I said, I love driving, but I also like the fact that I'm a lone worker, and I still, to a degree, I'm able to decide how I run my day.
That's it.
I mean, just because I'm really independent, and you know.
I've told my company that I don't mind doing the odd night out. So, because sometimes you could be on a long overload and you're running out of driving hours. So rather than try and chase back, I've got a pillow and sleeping bag, I've got a bed, you've got a fridge, you've got a microwave in there, you know, all the mod cons. Might as well use them once in a while. So they pay you a bit extra money for that.
Do you go far? Because where's you're shipping containers, you transport around the...
Yeah, there's different ways to do it. I mean, because inside shipping containers, you don't know what's in them. They're sealed. So most of the time you don't know what you're carrying. It could be someone's moving house.
Yeah.
It could be literally anything. It could be stuff coming from China. I mean, we empty boxes out and then they get filled up with rubbish and get sent to Holland because they're allowed to burn it over there. We're not allowed to burn it over here.
Right.
So, you know.
So where do you go? Do you go anywhere?
Literally anywhere.
Oh, okay.
You can go on some of the big supermarket sites, and then you're going down a country lane with brushing the trees either side of you. Yeah, people looking at you as if say, "What are you bringing that flipping great thing down?" But you end up on a farm.
Yeah.
Because you know farmers, they dig up all their potatoes and they've got to go in the back of a lorry, you know. And we deliver apples to a cider farm because when they can't grow their own apples for their own cider, they import it in. But you end up in some really tricky situations. But it's so much variety, so many different things you can do, you know, in the industry. You can go onto the load loaders, can't you? Pick up really heavy big plants. Seriously, like. You see them go down with train engines. I'd love to do that one day.
Well, even with the smaller trucks, I mean, if you're working for a general delivery company, you can be delivering anything and everything all over. I mean, you know, like you said before, it's a 7.5, but you can still get anything on it, and or you know, exactly. Even if it's a curtain side or a tail lift like this one, I mean, or even a ramp like, you know, I've got for my car, you know, for the cars going on the back. It's
and in the 7.5, do you have to use a tachograph in your 7.5? So
yeah, and in the 5.5 I drive as well, because of the weight and you know, it's a big fleet. And,
so what happens if you're getting near your driving hours? Do they come and rescue you and put another driver in there, or does that never happen to you?
No, because we've got a planning system piece of software. They work out our hours pretty much before.
Yeah, we've got planners,
Yeah.
but they don't plan for traffic jams. They don't plan for you getting there and then saying, sorry, that's going to be 6 hours before we can unload that.
Are you sure you
So,
don't work for the same company as me?
yeah, I think they're all pretty much alike. But,
Well, they'll always blame the software, but no, I mean, you know,
That's
like all of us, we've still got to regulate our own hours
well, you're responsible for your hours.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. If it all goes wrong, it's you they arrest. It's if you get an infringement on your tachograph, it's you that gets the fine.
yeah,
So
True.
you are responsible. So a company sometimes might try and push you to go over your hours, but you've got to make sure that you don't. You've got to tell them no. You've got to be strong.
yeah.
So,
No,
you know.
I've pushed back a couple of times, and they're responsive to that as well, which is one of the good things about who I work for at the moment.
That's it.
One of the many things, I'm going to say that. You know.
Oh, there's a lot. You see, if you get a lot of lorry drivers together, they will moan about the things that
course
are
they
wrong.
will.
But there's a lot of pluses, hell of a lot of pluses.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, it's the greatest sport, isn't it, of
That's it.
moaning?
Oh, yeah, of course
in,
it's the English thing.
in the kitchen.
But when you leave that yard, you're your own boss, you're in control,
Yeah,
and there's nobody breathing down your neck, and you can put the world's worries away behind you, can't you? It's fantastic.
and you get to listen to Popmaster most days.
That's it. And if you get bored of it, as I said earlier, you can do other things. You
Well,
can
yeah.
do your ADR and
Yeah,
do
you
petrol.
can go on
You
something
can
else, can't
do
you?
your high-ab and do crane work.
Yeah,
You can go
and at the
do
moment,
a
you know,
car
there's-
transporter if you want.
yeah, and there's so many firms that will offer you a little bit of a bonus for joining. I mean,
Definitely,
most of the major supermarkets are crying out for it. I mean,
Yeah, because they
I've heard
can't get
£5
drivers.
grand signing on bonus for one of them.
I think a lot of that's here, so
Every little
I
helps,
think it's
but-
all broken down over a couple of years.
Probably.
And the other thing a lot of firms will do, if you do want to do other things, they will train you. I mean, I trained in genset, which is frozen loads, which you have to train how to use the generator, get the temperatures right. They'll pay for that, they'll sign you off on that. If you go to a building company and you want to do high-ab, that company will probably pay for you to do that, so you stay at that company.
Well, they where I work, they did offer training for the multi-car transports.
That's it. And
To all the drivers that were, you know, on the single car to start with, when they brought it in-house, because we used to use third party, I can't remember what it was now, BCA, and when we got rid of them and bought our own trucks, they offered it to all of us, and those, you know, and there were a number that did take it on and get the training,
a lot of them will do it as part of your CPC training. So if you do an ADR, hazardous loads, you can have 3 days of CPC training. So basically that's 3 years, isn't it? You have to do 1 day every year. So, and they've done that and you haven't had to pay for it. They pay for it as well, so that's pretty
well, in
good.
fact, do you know, the first time I got my CPC training paid for was with a company that wanted that. It was in the early days of when more regulations were coming in, and they said, look, we'll pay for it, but you must work for us for 12 months.
Which
Or
is fair
do
enough.
this amount of hours in the next 12 months. I can't remember what it was, but, you know, it was 300 odd quid then. I don't know what it is now.
Yeah, I paid just over £300 for 5 days. This company said that they'd take me through CPC, but then COVID came along and they had to close their classroom, so I've got to do a bit of catching up, because I've got 5 years to do the 5 modules. But it's easier to do 1 a year and cheaper. But if you can get a company that will do it for you, it's even better. But
There you go.
take the courses.
Yeah.
The companies will offer you extra training, and the more you've got under your belt, the more you can do. You know, it opens up a lot of doors for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what perhaps the youngsters don't realise, is that it's not just a case of you driving a lorry for the rest of your life. You're driving different types of loads, different types of vehicles, that there's opportunities to, if you want to, travel overseas and do all that, or, you know, hazardous stuff. But you were saying cranes as well, I suppose.
High-ab crane work, that's pretty good work. But if you go into liquids, they're difficult to drive, because obviously the lorry moves with the liquid, and that's always frightening.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I had a lorry
Have you
load.
done some of that?
Yeah, in the containers, it's like a big sack that goes in the back, and they fill it up. The one I had was wine, but and it moves about like that. So when you're stopping, the lorry's doing that, and it feels like it wants to keep going forward all the time. So it's a different type of driving. Go around the corner, and obviously the liquid goes that way or it goes that way, and it wants to take the lorry over. yeah, you know, when you do liquids, you do need a lot of training on things like that. You got to be aware. You got to know what it's going to do, what your load's going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, I've got to get loaded.
Well, best you do.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon.
All right.